The 1980s gave us some of television's most beloved shows.
Silly Joe.
I just wanted to say that I love you and I need you.
But also some content that would get executives fired and networks boycotted faster than you can say cancel culture. The Reagan era brought us big hair, bigger shoulder pads, and television that reflected the greed is good mentality with zero filter. These weren't underground cable shows. They were primetime network hits that millions of families watched together every week. What makes the 80s even more problematic is that these shows often knew better.
How do you do? I'm David Winthrop. David is Nancy. Nancy is very beautiful. How do you do?
Unlike the 70s boundary-pushing pioneers who were fumbling towards progress, many 80s shows were deliberately offensive for shock value or cheap laughs, making their content even harder to defend by modern standards. Let's dive into the shows that define the decades of excess, including one that somehow made sexual harassment the centerpiece of its entire premise, and aired for 11 seasons. Buckle up, because this nostalgic journey is about to get a little uncomfortable.
Very nice. Much bigger than the office that you used to have. Excellent decorator. Anyone I know?
Coming in at the top of the list, we have Dynasty, airing from 1981 to 1989 on ABC. Dynasty wasn't just a soap opera. It was a weekly celebration of wealth, power, and settling disputes the old-fashioned way, with physical violence. Blake Carrington routinely solved business problems by strangling competitors and throwing people downstairs. The show's most famous moments? Alexis and Crystal literally wrestling in a cabin before it explodes. This was promoted as high-quality entertainment, not domestic violence.
God, what are you doing, you crazy cow? God! Ah!
Blake regularly had business rivals beaten up, threatened witnesses, and used his wealth to avoid legal consequences. The message was clear: if you're rich enough, the rules don't apply to you. Today's audiences would probably have some thoughts about portraying corporate crime and physical intimidation as acceptable business practices.
But Addison, he's a real man's man.
And it's good! The fans leap to their feet. Grown men cry.
At number 11, Moonlighting, a show that aired on ABC from 85 to 89. David Addison's pursuit of Maddie Hayes was essentially a 4-season masterclass in workplace behavior that would get you fired, sued, and possibly arrested today. He broke into her home, read her personal mail, and sabotaged her relationships. The Christmas episode where David decorates the office with mistletoe and uses it to justify unwanted physical contact was played as charming holiday romance, rather than
This is a Christmas tree ceremony.
The annual tradition of shutting down the entire town just to plug in a tree.
Christmas is here!
well, you can probably figure out how that would be received now. The show's entire premise, women's no actually means try harder, and professional relationships can become romantic through sufficient male persistence. Bruce Willis's character would last about 15 minutes in today's workplace environment.
Look, I did what I did. I don't expect you to be happy about it. But maybe it can do us both some good.
Why start
Just
now?
shut up! Shut up and listen to me.
Number 10 is Magnum P.I., which aired on CBS from 1980 to 1988. Thomas Magnum was basically a professional freeloader who lived in someone else's house, drove someone else's car, and treated the entire island of Hawaii as his personal playground. He regularly stole vehicles, broke into buildings, and destroyed property while pursuing cases that were often personal vendettas. The show's portrayal of Hawaiian culture was essentially tropical tourism. Native characters existed to serve the white protagonists or provide exotic background flavor. Magnum routinely impersonated federal agents and committed various felonies while being portrayed as a lovable rogue. The show treated criminal behavior as charming as long as you had the right mustache and enough charisma.
Jack, stop it! Jack, what are you doing?
I'm getting down!
Sliding into number 9, we've got Three's Company, which had a 4-year run on ABC. Jack Tripper's gay deception became more elaborate and offensive with each season. The 80s episodes featured increasingly complex scenarios, where Jack had to prove his fictional homosexuality through elaborate performances that treated gay relationships as theater rather than authentic human connections. The show's treatment of actual LGBTQ+ characters was even more problematic. They existed solely to create comedic misunderstandings or validate Jack's performance. The series finale resolved Jack's deception by having him confess his lie to marry his girlfriend, treating years of questionable humor as a harmless misunderstanding. Modern audiences might have some opinions about using sexual orientation as a costume for convenience, while mocking actual LGBTQ+ people as sources of confusion.
In 1972, a crack commando unit was sent to prison by a military court for a crime they didn't commit. These men promptly escaped from a maximum security stockade in the Los Angeles.
Coming in at number 8, The A-Team. Aired from 1983 to 1987 on NBC, The A-Team glorified vigilante violence as the solution to most problems. These heroes routinely broke laws, destroyed property, and used military weapons against American civilians while being portrayed as patriotic freedom fighters. The famous episode where they help a small town involves the A-Team essentially declaring war on local law enforcement and establishing military control over civilian government, because nothing says justice like 4 unstable veterans with explosives taking over a town. Murdoch's psychological instability was treated as comedic entertainment rather than a serious medical condition. Military trauma was played for laughs while completely ignoring real veteran mental health issues. Today's audiences might feel differently about portraying unstable veterans, using military tactics to solve civilian problems through violence and intimidation. At number 7, we have Miami Vice, a cult classic that aired for 5 years on NBC.
Hello.
Caroline?
Sonny?
I need to know something, Caroline.
While visually stunning, Miami Vice fundamentally glamorized everything about 1980s excess, including drug culture and police corruption. Crockett and Tubbs regularly violated civil rights, broke laws, and used police resources for personal vendettas. Crockett's undercover lifestyle involved actually using cocaine, sleeping with suspects, and maintaining romantic relationships with people he was investigating. The show portrayed this as cool and necessary rather than completely unethical. The series presented drug trafficking as sophisticated and appealing rather than destructive. The Miami drug scene was glamorous and exciting, not violent and socially devastating. Episodes featured illegal searches, coerced confessions, and physical intimidation as effective law enforcement techniques. Constitutional violations were just good police work. Hold up. Did you watch these shows back in the day thinking they were perfectly normal? Hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments, do you think these changes were a good thing? Number 6 on our list is Cheers, the well-loved show that enjoyed an 11-year run on NBC. Sam Malone was a recovering alcoholic who owned a bar and treated his workplace like a personal dating service. He routinely pursued female employees despite clear professional boundaries and the obvious conflict between addiction recovery and running a bar. The will they or won't they dynamic between Sam and Diane was built on his complete disregard for her professional autonomy. Sam treating Diane's career ambitions as obstacles to overcome, rather than aspects of her identity to respect. The famous episode where Sam sabotages Diane's academic opportunities to keep her working at the bar would probably be viewed differently today. Norm's alcoholism was treated as a running joke rather than a serious health problem. Daily drinking binges were lovable character quirks, not symptoms requiring intervention. At number 5, we've got Family Ties, airing from 82 to 89 on NBC.
Then you'll join us.
Monopoly? Are you kidding me? I'd love a game.
I thought you had a lot of work to do.
Alex P. Keaton's obsession with wealth and conservative politics was treated as adorable teenage behavior, rather than concerning extremism. His emotional manipulation of family members was rewarded rather than corrected. Alex regularly dismissed his parents' values, belittled his sister's intelligence, and treated his family like obstacles to his financial ambitions. The show presented greed and social Darwinism as positive character traits. Episodes featured Alex's schemes to exploit friends and family for profit while maintaining his role as the show's sympathetic protagonist. Teenage materialism and political extremism were harmless personality quirks. Today's viewers might question whether celebrating teenage obsession with wealth and power was the healthiest message for family television. Coming in at number 4, Riptide, which aired for 3 years on CBS. Private investigators whose primary qualifications were owning a helicopter and looking good in swim trunks. Cases were typically resolved through violence rather than actual detective work. The show's portrayal of California beach culture was essentially a male fantasy where women existed primarily as potential romantic conquests. Episodes often featured bikini-clad women for no plot-related reason. The casual sexism and objectification were so blatant that the show might as well have been titled Helicopter Guys and Their Beach Babes. Professional investigation ethics were apparently optional if you had the right vehicles and sufficient charm. Number 3 brings us Airwolf, a CBS show that aired from '84 to '87.
I was always the one who was going to brief you. Everyone he loved can't have died.
There is one who survived.
Hey, it's me.
Stringfellow Hawk was a mentally unstable veteran who stole a military helicopter and used it for vigilante missions while suffering from obvious PTSD that was never addressed. The show portrayed mental health issues as character enhancement rather than medical conditions. Hawk's antisocial behavior, emotional instability, and access to military weapons would trigger immediate intervention today. The show romanticized armed vigilantism and untreated mental illness as heroic independence. Modern audiences might have concerns about glorifying unstable individuals with access to military-grade weapons operating outside legal authority. At number 2, we have Remington Steel, which enjoyed a 5-year run on NBC.
Mr. Steele. Dinner and a movie, Mr. Steele? Mr. Steele?
Yes?
We'll settle that question between the two of us.
A con artist assumed the identity of a fictional detective and manipulated a female private investigator into letting him take credit for her work. The show's entire premise was a woman being professionally undermined by a charming male fraud. Laura Holt's acceptance of professional marginalization in exchange for romantic attention would probably be viewed differently by today's audiences. The show's message that women need male fronts to be taken seriously professionally might not play as well now. The series treated workplace fraud and identity theft as romantic comedy, rather than serious crimes requiring legal consequences. And finally at number 1, Knight Rider, a fan favorite that aired from '82 to '86 on NBC.
Michael Knight, a young loner on a crusade to champion the cause of the innocent, the helpless.
Michael Knight operated as a vigilante using advanced surveillance technology to monitor American citizens without warrants or legal authority. KITT's AI capabilities included unauthorized access to government databases and private communications. The show normalized surveillance technology and police-state tactics as acceptable crime-fighting methods. Constitutional rights were apparently optional if you had a cool car and good intentions. Episodes featured Michael using KITT to conduct illegal surveillance, reckless driving through populated areas, and property destruction while being portrayed as a heroic crime fighter. Today's audiences with heightened awareness of digital privacy rights and government surveillance might view the casual acceptance of unauthorized monitoring and police-state tactics differently. And there you have it, 12 shows that defined 80s television and reflected the values of their time. These weren't just entertainment, they were cultural statements about what society found acceptable, entertaining, and aspirational. The interesting thing is that many of these shows were incredibly popular and beloved. They weren't fringe programming, they were mainstream hits that families watched together every week. The attitudes and behaviors they portrayed weren't controversial then, they were just Tuesday night television. What's fascinating is how much our understanding of workplace behavior, representation, and social responsibility has evolved. These shows give us a window into what seemed normal and acceptable just a few decades ago. Some might argue that television was more entertaining when it wasn't worried about offending anyone. Others might say we've become more aware of how media representation affects real people and social attitudes. There's probably truth in both perspectives. Which of these shows did you watch growing up? Do you think the cultural changes are good, or have we become too sensitive? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this look back, be sure to subscribe for more stories of pop culture nostalgia.